Exceptional Radio.
I'm actually really ready for this weather to change. And apparently tomorrow it's going to be warm enough that this like foot of snow that's sitting in my yard might start melting. And then over the next 10 days it's supposed to be warm enough during the day that it should take care of the rest. There will be nights of icing over because it's going to get below freezing, but that's fine. That's like a small price to pay to get rid of this gigantic pile of snow. I'm not actually complaining. I think it's really pretty, except for the spots where like you can clearly see the road, like the effect of the road, like buildup of road ice. And then the other spots, obviously, like where animals do their thing, because those things are like these bright, gleaming, it looks like a loot drop in a video game. They stand out that much.
Well, that's the one thing I don't not the one thing. One of the main things I don't like about the winter is how the light reflects off the snow. It makes it 4 times as bright, and my eye, if I forget my sunglasses, my eyes just water constantly.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can't go outside if there's snow on the ground without like real sunglasses. Not some cool looking sunglasses, but like actual.
They have to be real.
They have to be rated for the right kind of wavelengths. Like, not just polarized, but they have to be rated for the right kind of UV wavelength. The amplification of those UV lights, like, or wavelengths on the snow. Because, man, I watched a video of this idiot who decided to climb Mount Everest, and he decided no goggles because he wanted to experience it with unfiltered or some crap.
Oh no!
And his Sherpa's like, bro, you gotta wear some fucking goggles. You're gonna go blind. And lo and behold, he went blind and died on the side of the mountain.
Jesus!
Like fell into a little crevasse, like visible but inaccessible. So
I feel like anybody who is trying to go there should just be taken to some sort of like suicide. Like either you do it or you confront it and don't do it, because it's like you're just putting a bunch of people at risk. Especially the idea that you would go into that kind of cold without eye protection. It's just self-destructive. Because then you realize those people, then they die there and they're like, I'm fine, I'm happy, this is what I wanted. And like, you could have not dragged a bunch of Sherpas through that and just gone straight to that part of the process.
Should the state intervene and like just take the volume of money that they were about to waste and put that into mental health care and then put them into a facility for a few months?
I mean, I don't understand. I mean, I do understand, but it's like where does somebody get the money and also not have the sense in the same person to do that? Because that's always the, it makes it clear that America is a jobs program for white people, and it just basically steals from everybody on the planet and just babysits white people and gives them a bunch of money, and they don't know what to fucking do with it. So then they end up bungee jumping and base jumping and fucking hunting from helicopters and going snowmobiling and all this fucking doing donuts on frozen lakes, and then the truck's falling through, and then they leave their truck in a frozen lake because they just had a truck's worth of money to just go do burnouts on a lake and just fucking destroy their vehicle and just leave it. The way that Americans treat things, it's directly because the state has given them all of this stuff, explicitly stealing it from Native Americans and other people afterwards. So
I like watching off-roading videos where people like go do really cool stuff, but the ones that are trails that are very clearly heavily used, that's kind of like that's that should be good enough because all of those places lead to scenic vistas where you can see stuff that you can't see anyway in any other way. But the videos where people are like, "I'm gonna go trailblazing," and that shit bothers me because a lot of that stuff they're doing something to the environment that can't be undone. You know, something that took like, you know, literally forever to form that way and to have that kind of like micro ecosystem that exists there. Driving a vehicle through like something that isn't even a trail is just destabilizes everything downstream from that. And what's wild is a lot of the videos that I've seen of that kind of behavior, it's always in some dry creek bed. It's always where they are because that's an obvious trail, right? And I think that's like that's another like variation of like the kind of culture that exists within automobiles like that. It's a very different culture of driving than the track drivers or even the street racers.
Well, that's one thing I am learning about motorsport is there's just no the way that there is no ubiquitous motorsport culture is kind of shocking at first, but then it starts to make sense in that it's clearly the spectrum hitting the niches when you have all these different,
Yeah.
you know, the ways that people do all these different types of racing, and then you see all the things that go with it, and you're like, oh, okay, none of this applies to this other type of racing, and neither one of these apply to this other type of racing. So then it's like
the precision rock crawling and rock bouncing. They only have the only thing they have in common is 4-wheel drive going up a hill, but like otherwise those vehicles are so different, and then like the way that the operators approach those courses is so different.
And that has nothing to do with Desert Rally.
And even though nothing in common with Desert Rally, other than being a tube frame with a high-powered engine and 4-wheel drive. And
but if you're like a novice, they all look the same.
But exactly. Even though the chassis don't even have anything in common. The only thing they might have in common is there's a human operating them, and that fundamentally they're a tube frame with 4-wheel drive and a high-powered engine. Like the Iron Man stuff, those things are crazy, but they're rear-wheel drive. And they do that so they can have like, you know, huge suspension travel and way less, because those courses are all about speed and they don't really have to go rock crawling. It's just, you know, over sand and hard pack and that kind of stuff. But then like those vehicles are there's like a variation. I guess it's like motocross, but where I've seen those trucks like go on both was it mixed track, like dirt track and street, and they get really wild. I think a lot of that stuff's in Australia. But again, those things are really fast, like up to their top speed, which is actually really slow compared to like NASCAR or F1 or like Indy cars. Like those things all go insanely fast, and it's not that they're slow. They're meant to go really fast for that first like 90 to 120 miles an hour, and then everything else is just like moving a ton of weight and having suspension that travels like 48 inches, which is also insane.
There's a YouTube channel that does all these fantasy race competitions. So it'll be like a Top Fuel dragster versus a Toyota Prius. But like on the Nürburgring or some shit where you're like, this is literal tortoise versus hare. And then on that specific, I forget which track it was. It might have been a shorter track, but it came down to the wire where you're like, this is exactly what I expected. And the Top Fuel dragster only won by maybe a half a second.
Yeah, because they can't turn.
Like, right. So it's when you see it actually play out, it's one of those things where you're like, okay, I it makes sense in my head, but seeing it actually done for the whole track, then it gives you a reference point that I think when people do all these hypotheticals and they don't have visual representations, it's really easy to then go beyond what one has the capacity to understand, actually.
So in the Gran Turismo 2 era, that game couldn't be completed. Like they had a track generator, a race generator that prevented the game from ever reaching 100% completion. It was maddening. But every so often they would reward you with some real nice car that was actually kind of worth holding on to, or at least driving for a while because they were fun. One of them was an actual like a funny car, a drag racing car. And the way that it was set up, it could go really fast in a straight line, but it couldn't turn for shit. And I learned this by entering it into a race because it had phenomenal numbers and
right. You see the specs and you're like, oh, why are people driving this all?
Yeah, exactly. The specs were like the specs said this thing should win, and I think I spent the entire race like riding the rails, and I won, but it wasn't like driving. It was just like holding on to the controller and screaming at it and being really frustrated, but just holding the gas down the whole time. It was pretty stupid, actually. But on the big oval track, on the speed ring, the thing would go just faster than any other car in the game. It was fantastic. I think actually no, this TVR Speed 12 went faster, but they always would hit like turn 3 and just like hit the wall at that point because nothing was really supposed to go that fast on that track. That's the kind of stuff that I think we need more of. We need like mixed vehicle class, like open class racing, so people get it out of there.
Well, I don't know if you've seen the Speed Racer mods for Assetto Corsa.
Oh no, I've not.
Oh my god, it makes me realize that Speed Racer movie that the Wachowskis did. I just watched
that recently, like straight up. I watched that like 2 nights ago.
That's funny. It nails so much about what the sport would be, but then when you in the movie, because you haven't seen anybody like drive it in a simulator setting, it seems ridiculous. But people have built virtual Thunderhead tracks, and they've built the virtual vehicles like the Mach 5 and T180s. They got whole variations on the T180s, and they're mastering these tracks in ways where you're like, dude, this could be a league. This could be a real league now at this point. But it's so fucking awesome to watch, but it's a completely different type of racing because of how the cars work, and the tracks have to be set up that way because you can't, if you try to drive those cars on just like a regular F1 track, I mean, it could work on an IndyCar oval or a NASCAR oval track, but it wouldn't really.
Oh, here we go. I found a video of someone driving a T180 on Assetto Corsa. Cool. This is like this reminds me of the Rainbow Road, except the drifting looks more extreme.
Well, and it's not even really drifting because they actually have the mechanics from the Speed Racer mythos, so it's like
they've got fully independent steering.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. So this is where again it's like it's not, when you try to drive it, it's not like anything you've ever driven before, and you have to get used to it because it's like you turn the whole car. I feel it's more like driving a bumper car almost, but it actually matches the mythos and all the independent suspension.
And yeah, whoever did this is gorgeous. Like straight up beautiful. I mean, seriously, I just watched this movie. I love that movie. I think it's an absolute like wrecking ball of visual stimulus. It's like a real sensory overload if you let your sound system just go loose. This is fantastic. Whoever put in the effort to build that track, like bravo.
Well, and it feeds into the movie in that when you're watching the movie and you haven't seen somebody actually do a simulated lap on one of these tracks, the overstimulation, it feels absurdist and it feels unnecessary. But when you see what it actually would entail and the speeds that they're hitting, it's like, oh, okay, this is the only way to actually represent what they're doing. There's no other way to actually represent it even remotely accurately in live action.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's. I think most people are unable to perceive like how fast they're going once you're going, 45 miles an hour. Everything after that's just kind of a blur unless you're really paying attention.
No,
I'm
it's
painting with
it's
broad
very true.
strokes, but
It's very true.
I don't think that I think that the vast majority of people don't have the kind of like time perception to drive. What is this? Hitting 360 miles an hour on this racetrack, going around a curve. Here we go. He spun out, and he was still going 170 miles an hour. Here we go. Here's a T180 on Nordschleife.
Yeah, and people do it.
Yeah,
but
he's like spending more time off the road than is normal.
well, but then on that note, someone built a Nordschleife that's made for T180s, so it has higher banks and
Sure.
it's actually made so that the car can turn the way it's meant to. So then you see it, and then it's like, okay, this could be a whole thing, and it wouldn't even necessarily have to depend upon the technology being built.
They'd have to be wearing like flight suits that fighter pilots wear though. Like back, I think it was like in the 80s or something. Like CART had to enforce rules about the power of the vehicles because they were taking the super speedways all the way to the edge and blacking out and dying. They were going just way too fast. Couldn't keep the blood in their brain, kind of shit. Oh no. Oh, cool. Like, so this is actually really interesting. This guy's like flying all over Nordschleife, and this thing is going insanely fast. Insanely, like not. I mean, faster than I think I've ever. It's like a joke almost. It's like watching somebody on 1.5 times speed. Some places 2 times speed. Like I'm just watching an accelerated video. But he's recovering from these spills so fast that it's like that's the part that's like difficult to reconcile because I've never tried to run a T180 or a Mach 5 or any of that stuff because I didn't realize it was possible actually. Yeah, this is still faster than any normal vehicle on Nordschleife.
So what I've come to realize with fantasy vehicles, or even it's not even just fantasy vehicles. Once you get past a certain speed in a car, you have to know the track inside out so you can anticipate like 3 to 4 turns ahead.
Oh man, this is like the most anxiety-inducing screening of a. Seriously, this is a hard lap to watch. It's just too fast.
Well, and I've done a 3 minute and 34-second lap on the Nordschleife in a fantasy car, like, and I say fantasy car to differentiate in that, like, all the cars in Assetto Corsa are virtual, but the fantasy cars are cars that don't exist and generally go beyond capacity of production or even mechanical limits for whatever.
Yeah, like if you were to have a vehicle that was essentially the Delta Flyer, but was restricted to like flying 1 meter off the ground and couldn't.
Which you can get a Delta Flyer basically that's a car. It's like It's like the Delta Wing.
Yeah, I mean, so
I downloaded it.
so if like if Paris was behind the controls, like in theory, he might be able to get that thing to go around Nordschleife faster than anything because it's a freaking Delta Flyer, but that thing definitely doesn't exist.
Right. I mean,
A
but
warp capable race car.
well, but again, it's like you can
Man,
drive the DeLorean in hover mode around the fucking Nordschleife if you want. Like at this point, there's you can do anything. That somebody made it so you can fly in Assetto Corsa and basically turn it into a flight sim. Um, so at this point, it's like if you can imagine it, you can drive it or fly it in Assetto Corsa. So if you want to go through the and make the Delta Wing and have it fucking on land to air, I have a fucking Star Wars land speeder. It's like, yeah, basically you can have fucking anything in there. It's one of for a $7 game or whatever the fuck it was, at this point because it's like 12 years old or something now. Um it's proof also that no game is sufficient on its own in modern times. You need a strong modding community, and in tandem with the strong modding community, you can make something that is what people want it to be. Because it's happened with Cyberpunk, with No Man's Sky. There's like multiple games where the developers on their own just could not finish or make it into what people wanted, but then because it was moddable, any that option also there's also going to be the pervs that start modding stuff, but you can't stop them anyway. So it's like you might as well open it up for people to actually help the game grow, just knowing that you can't stop the gooners no matter what. Like people are going to goon. There's always going to be those people. Like I don't know if you've seen Marvel Rivals Community, but
I tried to play that game for like 15 minutes and I just decided to uninstall it.
yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat. But
It could have been really cool except for like I guess I knew it was bad, like just waiting for everything to get going, but I just kept thinking, well, maybe it'll get better once everyone's, nope. Like everything that I expected.
but I'm not really into online battle royale type shit in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's like
I just wanted to see what it looked like. And it looks
Yeah.
good, but that's where it ends.
yeah, pretty much. But
There's-
that's a lot of games in modern times.
There was a Xbox game, Xbox game. It was like an X-Men game.
You talking about Ultimate Alliance?
Maybe. It's not-
Marvel Ultimate Alliance
Legends.
was probably
It was
Legends was good too.
Yeah, it was Marvel Legends. If it had been more like Legends, where it was like a team co-op, go do these things, generate missions or whatever, that would have been fun. But it wasn't that. It was go fight people. Yeah, just more fighting. We can't come up with a really good idea for where this game could actually go. We'll just make everyone fight each other. We have license to use the vast Marvel comic book universe as our guide, but we can't come up with a decent story. Fucking.
And it's just the most toxic type of gameplay. That's what irritates me about it more than anything is like because of the length of the games and the type of the games, it just encourages people to be toxic.
They could have made any number of story-based games that made people cooperate with each other because they have literally like some of the best like character developed characters. There's stories to explore. There are countless stories that they could have explored. No, just battle royale. Let's blow some shit up and kill each other, because that's like all these characters are good for, right? That's like the sad part is that they could have made that game with anything. They could have had brand new characters, and it would have been the same game. It would have been any of the other battle royale bullshit games.
Right, it's basically Overwatch with a Marvel skin, is what it is.
Isn't there also already like an Overwatch or a Arc Raiders with that kind of shit going on already? I know that I keep seeing skins for that stuff on Twitch stuff, the Amazon Twitch related things. Or maybe it's not on that, it's something else. Maybe it's on Steam. I don't know. I don't play those games, so it's hard to keep any real active memory of it. Most of those games are just frustrating. I actually like watching other people's streams of those games. There's almost always someone out there that's just trolling everybody in the best, in the most the best kind of intentions. Like the person who was playing as the Predator and was hanging out in treetops and just killing people one by one. That stuff's funny because it would take everyone forever to figure it out. Sometimes they didn't figure it out. Sometimes they'd hear the noise and they'd be like, oh, there's a Predator or a Yacha in the room. Like, that stuff's funny because they're like playing into the character. That's the stuff right there.
Well, and that's where Fortnite has a benefit over everyone in that I want to say damn near all the characters, not all of them, but a significant number of the characters in Marvel Rivals are probably in Fortnite already. So it's like you might as well. Why would I play this one game that only has Marvel characters when I can play this other game that has Marvel characters? It has fucking Dragon Ball characters. It has characters from The Office. It has characters from The Simpsons. It has characters from basically any, like, from real life. They're not, I guess, people at that point.
I mean,
they're not
I'm
characters.
pretty sure
like,
that like anybody who plays as a Yacha is just like waiting for the moment that somebody who plays as Wolverine comes into the same lobby. They're like, oh, I've been waiting for this for a long time.
Or maybe they're just out hunting Mr. Beast.
That would be
because that's what, at that point, it's like, yeah, you can be like, okay, I'm a Yacha, I'm only going to fight Deadpools, or I'm only going to fight Mr. Beasts, or only going to fight Gokus, or whatever.
I saw one where a Deadpool was taking it out on people who were just like being real like low level criminals, like not even really just like harassing the game, and like he was just like harass one person at a time until they would just go away. He would run people out of rooms, and I think it was like a kind of a weird policing action, like an in-game policing action, like somebody who's like, oh, I'm gonna just go ruin this guy's day. Screw this shit. This person sucks. And it's always amusing to me when that kind of stuff happens because, and I've seen variations of it in real life, like, or not real life, in other video formats, like when there's a guy who does like judo and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and he tries to explain to some people why they're like this technique that they're really interested in exploring, like where it fails, and he'll like pick them up off the ground and then just like shake them, like, if I can get you up in the air like this, I can already slam you to the ground, and they're all laughing about it. But occasionally you see somebody who like is hot shit, and they've got to be put into some kind of like pretzel until they give up. And I think the same thing is happening in video games, in some video games, where that person comes onto the server and they're just making life suck for everybody. That's the reason I can't play GTA online. Because there's always some asshat. 'Cause, 'Cause there's always some asshat. 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 'Cause there's always some asshat.
Right, that's not the only, but one of the major downsides of the internet. In that, when it was just an arcade, you could easily become that person with a weekend of dedication and a roll of quarters, because that arcade was only going to have so many people come through, and it's like, if you hog that machine, basically nobody can become that person locally. So only when somebody comes through that's not a local are they going to be able to challenge you, and that's where Mortal Kombat and fucking Street Fighter 2, um, Killer Instinct, uh, Soul Calibur, or I guess it would have been Soul Blade. Um, but there's like a few games that were in that window, which I think people have nostalgic memories of, that lead to the Evos and the international championships. But at the same time, it's like the crazy part about those things is anything can happen. And so a roll of the dice is like, somebody who spams one button, they're not going to necessarily beat the top champion in any fighting game, but they may make it farther in a tournament because of chance than people would expect. And so there's all these, I mean, you don't really see it, but there's things that happen. Like, I think a 16-year-old just won the Street Fighter, I think it was Easy Street Fighter Tekken World Championship. And people were pissed, not because it was a girl, but because it was, I'm sure some of it was because she was a girl, but because she was 16. Because you don't really expect at this point 16-year-olds to beat the like 24-year-olds, 25-year-olds. Like, it feels as if people have decided that mid 20s is the peak for video games, like between 18 and mid 20s. But I don't know if that's necessarily true.
Hmm. I don't think that's true, because there are games like Arc Raiders that do like aggression-based matchmaking, where if you have a low aggression factor, they'll put you in PvE based or focused matches, like more like a go get the thing with this group of people and cooperate kind of deal. And then the people who are always like aggressive, they're just put in these rooms where they have to kill each other because that's what they're into. So as long as that kind of mechanism works, then that's I think that's kind of cool.
I think there's that assumption, but I don't think is actually a peak in gaming. In that, I don't know if you've seen the Grandpa Gaming channel, but he's like I think Vietnam vet.
Oh, wow. Does he talk mad shit?
I mean, he just destroys people in ways where you're like, it's not even fair. But this is where the way he's going up against people and taking them out, it's like that type of advantage is one you would anticipate a younger person to have, not somebody whose channel is called Grandpa Gaming.
Yeah, but if that guy has like real world like guerrilla warfare experience, that's
I mean, even still, it's
and if,
like,
I mean,
yeah,
and
he
only,
has
and
it, but
only if he can translate
he's
that to the
still
virtual
65 or some shit. He's still 65 or whatever the fuck it is. Like, maybe even he might be 75. I don't know. I don't know.
I think he's have to be in his 70s to have gone to Vietnam. I think if
Right, at least, which I'm
yeah.
thinking that's the war he was in. It was either that or the Korean War.
If he was, no, that's even older. He'd be
right, exactly. But that's what I'm saying.
He could be a grandpa and have spent his time in in South America. Like, there was a period.
I know
of time
but I know he's in fact like one of the things that he was an active combat veteran. So it's like,
yeah. I mean, like depending on what they do, like some people in the military have really interesting trajectories where they go and do some really wild stuff and learn how to do some things that Normal people don't get to do those things. We don't.
I guess he's 72. Yeah.
Yeah, he's old though.
Yep. And it was Vietnam.
See, what other games do Russian-based matchmaking? Oh, it looks like Arc Raiders is the one.
Well, and that's where Arc Raiders is another one where it's going to eventually kill itself because of the culture.
Yeah.
You can't have that type of dog eat dog culture and have the game survive, because that's what killed Dune Awakening. Dune Awakening has lost 90% of its fucking player base because of the way they set up their end game to make it so that you basically had to. It's basically player versus player in order to finish the game. So it's like, yeah, I quit before I even got to that part just because the way they set it up, you had to basically log in. I don't know what the time period was. It was either every day or every week. And like basically check on your base. Cause then it's like it could be a sandworm or it could just be a sandstorm. Something could destroy the the exterior of your base, and then it just basically the desert eats it up. And so it's like these fuckers didn't have a system in place when the game started to basically save your spot because it, and then they made the excuse because it was online. And it's like, well, you shouldn't have made it all entirely online. There's so many things about the way that they designed it that they didn't explain when they rolled it out, that then I felt like I'm calling it Scam America from now on, because we're obviously living in a scam economy, but I'm surprised nobody's started calling it that before. But everything is a fucking scam in a way where it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like a video game should be able to be a scam. But when you're paying $50 and $70, I'll never pay $70, but if you're paying $50 for something and then you basically can't use it because of the way that they made it, it's like, well, they just took my money. And I don't know if I'll ever play that game again.
Let's see. A month of Omega for Eve Online is $20. A year is $144. 2 years is $264. So $12 a month if you pay all up at front. I don't play that game anymore, but I know that if I was willing to fork over $20, I could have access to all of the ships that I had, 6 or 8 years ago or whatever when I was playing that game. But I'd have to spend money to do that, to like have the privilege to play this game that I invested a ton of time building up the ability to do those things. And then, so I think games like that have always been kind of have a bleed you kind of scam feel. You got to pay $20 a month to get some kind of dopamine rush from watching a ship go around and collect rocks and run story-based missions and occasionally get into fights with people. That's not a fun game anymore to me.
Well, there's like an EU law now where if a game company makes an online like a live service game and then shuts down, they have to have the capacity to turn it over to their community somehow. And it's just basically a lot of American companies are like, yeah, we're not going to go along with that. Instead of just,
I think Eve is their CPC or whatever. I think they're based in like Iceland or something.
yeah, because I was just getting into Eve Valkyrie when they shut it down. I'm like,
That game was so much fun.
what the fuck is this?
Bastards.
Like, yeah, man, it was a lot of fun.
That was the best flying around in space game that I'd ever played.
Which I don't understand how it got shut down. You know, I mean, obviously, I understand, but it's like, man, it was fun. It seemed like there was an active player base, but I guess it wasn't enough. So
Yeah.
I hate capitalism so much because of shit like that, man. It's like,
Well, it was I think it was the failure to integrate Valkyrie into the larger Eve campaign-based ecosystem, along with that ground-based first-person shooter that they were trying to do all at once. I think those are the reasons that like Valkyrie got got taken out first, because it's just it didn't work.
well, I want to say for maybe 3 to 5 years. I don't know exactly when it started, but at least up until 2023, it seemed like media outlets were just running mostly stories about things failing and depending upon things just whiffing a failure to then write a story about how it's a massive failure. And so I would see games come out like Suicide Squad where it was in its first maybe 3 to 6 months and people were already calling it a failure. And I'm like, how is this? It's not
It just
it's not
started.
even a fucking year out and you're calling this game done. And the same shit happened with Midnight Suns and Marvel's Avengers. And then they would call these games dead and declare them failures. And then a year later, new people would emerge that hadn't read the stories and would want to play these games and were like, what's going on? Why why can't I buy this game or why is this game dead? Like it not the way that new teenagers and new adults emerge in cycles that don't know what was going on before and then allow for the baggage that was previously associated with something not to tarnish it. It's like it only takes a year for something that wasn't appreciated to become appreciated because you may have a whole group of people moving into this new part of their life that this thing resonates with that weren't there last year, but now they're at this intersection where it perfectly aligns. It just took a minute. And games were not getting that room to breathe for even more than like 3 months. For, like I said, it was at least 3 to 5 years before media outlets would pounce on it and declare them failures. And then because the media outlets had declared them failures, people would stop buying it. And the reason I say this is because I don't know if you remember the game Forspoken.
Forspoken. Let's see what it looks like.
Regardless, it was a highly anticipated game for various reasons. And then when it came out, it's like because it was a black woman that was the protagonist, people were just trying to like they were gonna call it a failure regardless. But as soon as it came out, it basically got declared a failure.
Oh, this is like this is that game that's on the short list of for actual 4K games.
Bro, it's one of the best games I've ever played, and it's one of those things where I'm like, there's certain games where they're so good you don't want to finish it fast. So I think I may have put 60 or 70. I don't know. I don't know how many hours I put into it so far, but I haven't finished it. But it's not because I don't want to finish it. It's because I don't want it to finish. And so like there's only a couple of games that have ever actually made me not want to finish them because I'm having that much fun. And it's like The Witcher 3, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Forspoken. It's like a very short list. Ocarina of Time if I want to go back, like shit like that where you only can experience it once, and so you don't want to spoil it and have it so once you've rolled the credits on the game, it's like you can do it again, but you can't do it again for the first time the way it hits. So it's like knowing that the way that they trashed Forspoken when it came out, it was just pure racism. It had nothing because even then the fucked up thing is you realize it's not a studio of black people, it's a studio of like very, very white people, and they just used a black woman as their face. And it's like there's problems with that, but the idea that they would make a black woman their protagonist, and it's cliche. The storyline that she's part of is cliche as fuck. To then get to the fantasy part, but that's not that big of a deal in that it's only cliche because of white people, not because black people exist and not because black people in poverty exist, but it's only because white storytellers keep leaning on that same trope. But it's like to set her up to be it's not a magical Negro in that it's like there's a reluctant hero, but also because of the way that things happen, she's not incorrect, but she's also not correct. So it's not a full-on anti-hero. It's just like somebody who's growing and is trying to figure things out. So it's almost like the way that Peter Parker gets to have flaws because he's meant to represent these things. People weren't allowing her to have flaws because that's just one of those things that happens when it's like a non-white protagonist. And so seeing it play out and then playing the game after like seeing how much it got trashed, but then seeing how good it was, it's like, oh, there was an entire period where a game getting trashed means absolutely nothing. It doesn't mean that the game is bad. And in fact, the game may actually be really good, but the fact that it got trashed has nothing to do with it at all. It's just that's what the media was doing at the time. And it's like it's slightly changed now in that people aren't people don't respond to the trashing because it they just got desensitized to it. So it doesn't work as much or it doesn't work as well. Um, but that's also in the context of marketing just isn't working anymore.
I can't find anything about the people that developed Forspoken. They just got absorbed into Square Enix, and that was it.
Right. They didn't actually lose their jobs. It was a and this is also I think one of the ways that larger companies would deflect um the right wing cancel culture that was still is part of the online gaming um like Twitter, Twitch community, but they would open up or not say open, they would use small studios to publish the games even though it would then, it's like it's definitely a Square Enix game, but then they would shut down the studio and just reabsorb the people. It happened on so many. I think it became a common practice because of how the right wing cancel culture trolls would just ice. If any game had anything non-white or non-male to do with it, the the cancel culture trolls would come after it and just trash it and go in the comment section anywhere something about the game was written and trash it. And it was just incessant. And I think the same thing happened with like all the non-white actors and actresses in the Star Wars movies for something that's like not video game related. But it's like this the way that the media participated in trashing these properties and then allowing people to be super racist in the comment sections just for the sake of clicks. It's like we should be able to file some sort of fucking class action lawsuit, but it's indirect harm, so there's like no real way to quantify it, even though there's definitely harm that they cause. But it's like that's why Scamerica is like it's just a giant fucking scam.
Well, if you're not buying stuff, are you really American? That's you got to buy everything. Got to buy the lie. Got to buy into the consumer cycle. You got to buy into the news cycle. Everything you have to buy. You just have to, and then you have to believe it, and you have to support your consumer decisions too, right? You got to like defend that stuff. It's so tiring. Just trying to catch up to the news is sometimes is really tiring. I think that's why like paying attention to anything like international is interesting, because if it breaks through at all into like American media, it's like it's generally well written, or it's complex enough that there's an actual story to tell, and it's not trying to sell me more stuff. It's not like a masked advertisement for some mall or some shit.
But also, shit must be going terrible in Venezuela for America. How that shit just dropped out of the news like it never happened.
Oh yeah, I haven't heard anything about Venezuela in like weeks.
When's the last time you've heard anybody talk about fucking Venezuela? That shit is like it, bro. The way that they just like men in black mind white people about shit that was like the big topic last week or whatever the week before.
I think that means nobody cares
Pretty
about
funny.
it. America,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
People in America really
America don't care
shit.
about shit. America don't care about shit.
I think people just want to. Some people see that and they feel good. Some people it like activates them and they're like freaked out about it. And some people get real just bent out of shape and and then you just wait a couple hours or wait a couple days and then there's something else in the news to have a reaction to. And I started watching these like police arresting people videos because like that's what YouTube started showing me, I guess. And then but there's a really big consistency, like to, you know, they ask for an ID and as soon as someone says no, that's like, okay, we're doing this the hard way. And then there's this whole procedure where they just pull people out of cars. It happens pretty much the same way every time. Like, and then there's all these videos where people don't get yanked out of their car because they're compliant. And sometimes they have to get out of their car and they get arrested. Like I watched a video of some woman who stopped to pick up some hitchhikers who were illegal. And so they got picked up and everyone went to a detention facility, but nobody got yanked out of a car because they all complied. I'm pretty sure that's I bet that happens more often than not, actually. I mean, in terms of like people getting pulled over, not the running into immigration part, but just I bet more people actually just hand over their license. They take their ticket or infraction or rolling misdemeanor, and they get to go home, and then they have to deal with court later. But I think that I think it's just like with car accidents. Like they represent a small percentage of the people on the road. They're not like it's not everywhere. There are more people on the road going the speed limit and just taking their sweet time. But we don't notice them because we never see them because we're also traveling pretty much the same speed.
Well, but that's also why they don't publish stories about people shooting back that often, even though that happens all the time.
Yeah,
because they don't want to. They want you to think that it's like not the cops' fault and that people never shoot back and that nothing like that ever happens. Which again, it's not. It's definitely not the majority, but it's probably about the same frequency as the cops doing that shit. You know.
yeah.
Which they're not going to publish the numbers just so people can't use it in an argument against them.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the dilemma with data-based everything is that the numbers don't show what they're doing. Then there's no record of it, and they're in control of the systems that remember things. So if somebody does manage to upload a video, it's like, oh yeah, well that thing disappears.
I mean, but also when's the last time you heard about the National Guard?
Well, which one?
The American National Guard. Any National Guard.
They get on the news every so often. They were going to be sent to Minnesota. Minnesota National Guard was partially deployed for a while, but they showed up with like coffee and donuts.
My point being, the last time they actually got deployed, 2 of them got picked off immediately. Like, we haven't heard about them since that. And again, it's like with the Minnesota thing, they were threatening it and shit got worse. So they had to pull back the threat, and it was like they didn't roll them out the same way they were doing in Washington when those 2 got fucking picked off. They stopped doing that shit. ICE is out there like this, which is they're the only ones left that are rolling like this. It's like slowly but surely law enforcement and military agencies have stopped operating with the Reich wing. It's a very small and fractured part of our government that's operating. They're rogue for sure, but if they had influence, they would have nuked some shit by now. They haven't nuked anything. They haven't.
Indiana just passed a law that requires compliance with DHS for state law enforcement.
I mean, we'll see what happens with that, though, just because all the state law enforcement isn't going to be down with it. You'll see. Watch. Because it's like Indiana's super right wing, but not everywhere. And even then, it's like, it's not even just about not being right wing. Those are the Indiana and Texas types. They don't want some fucking federal person coming in their town and telling them how to roll. It'll be fine for about a week, and then they'll kick them the fuck out. Watch. These are the types of people who don't play well with others, and they're not going to work well with some right wingers just because they're right wing all of a sudden. These are people who generally just are antisocial and don't work well in teams in the first place. Which is like, this is the same shit. This is why fucking Trump and Elon are no longer butt buddies. That shit was on borrowed time. the cooperation between any federal agency and a local law enforcement agency is always on borrowed time every time because they hate each other, bro. That's the thing. They have to act like they don't hate each other. It's not even just law enforcement. The military, they fucking hate each other. And it's not even playful. Like, if you listen to somebody from the Navy, talk to somebody from the Air Force, talk to somebody from the Army, none of those motherfuckers like each other, bro.
Oh, I think
It's crazy.
That's like why they exist, is that they're different cultures of
Right.
something.
Yes.
You got to keep them separated.
There's the semblance of unity because they're all United States and it says United in the name, but these motherfuckers are not even remotely united. Not even, they can't even be united against black people. Like that'd be some shit where you think they could come together and all agree, but it's like, nah, even right wingers have lines that they'll fucking draw in the sand when it comes to being racist, where you're like, nah, you can't post videos of monkeys. That's too racist for me, bro. Like, you can't do that. And we're seeing this shit happen in real time where a bunch of right wingers are like, yeah, I'm cool with like systematic disenfranchisement, but don't post some shit on Twitter that everybody's gonna see, or on True Social or whatever. Like, that's too far for me, even. Not.
I think all the ICE stuff started last year. It looks like it started back in April. Yeah, beginning of May in Indiana. It's just been quiet. There hasn't been. I think they're not. I think they're actually like managing to do this stuff under the radar. There's a it's like an hour north of Indianapolis. There's a facility. Apparently, they have like over 500 people currently being held there. This stuff is never in the news.
Which, it's a lot, but it's not.
No,
So
not
it's
really.
like, on the one hand, every person who gets detained is a person and an individual. But realistically, with how much money they've put into this, like, if let's say they have 20 of these facilities,
$16 million for the Indiana facility.
yeah, it's like the amount of money that they're spending, even Republicans can't justify it because they're not stable enough to justify government spending on getting 500 non-criminal immigrants rounded up and sent to who knows where. And it's like they can't justify it anymore. They could justify, like, this is year 2. We're not that far, and even the Republicans are like, we can't do this shit anymore. So
Oh, that's the house is on fire.
yeah.
It's this has, you just let them keep cooking because they're gonna burn it down and it's gonna suck. We're gonna have to clean some shit up. It's just gotta let them. Maybe we'll be lucky and they'll get trapped inside the kitchen when it goes up and they'll be burned so bad that they have to stop. We can't do this shit. Like, it's just. There's part of me though that's just like really intrigued by these videos of, just the dumbest fucking people just being just stupid. Like, I don't know. Every time I see a video of somebody who's just like being self-righteous in the face of law enforcement and they're like, I know my rights, and then it ends with them being like dragged to the ground and cuffed and thrown in the back of a vehicle. It just reminds me that the world we live in is way more complicated than what it looks like on papers, and the words have these really specific meanings that are like, not implicit. Like, they're very explicit, but they're not always the same words that people think they are. It's just too easy to get wrapped up in the machine, and it doesn't care. It doesn't care about anybody. We all thought that it did, but it's really just a machine.